my name is Pascal. Today we are going to talk about how you would program Smolov Jr. I personally think it is a good program to run to break through a plateau of one of the main lifts, the deadlift, the squat and the bench press. And I will outline how you will work it. Also, I have a neat graphic that you can print out to do your programming. So if you want that, please follow the links in the description box below to the article and the graphic itself. Smolov Jr. runs for a month or 4 weeks. You will train 4 times a week. And on these specific dates, you will pick the squat, the deadlift, or the bench press to train. What you will do is you will start with 6x6 at 70% on the first date, which then drops to a 7x5 at 75% at the second day. Then you have an 8x4 by the third day, and you have a 10x3 at the last day. So it's fairly simple to program, and this is 1 week. And then in the second week, what you do is that you add 5 kg to your 1 repetition maximum, and you run the whole thing again. In the third week, you add 10 kg and you run the whole thing again. And then in the end, you test and rest, and that is the whole cycle. But then again, if you look at the graphic, it will become apparently clear how to run it. I will now go into some of the caveats around Smolov Jr. The approach of Smolov Jr. to bench press or squat or deadlift heavy or fairly heavy 4 times a week is very effective, but not really sustainable. What I mean by that is if you run this cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle, you will build up quite a bit of fatigue, and it's also a very single-minded program. Now, a very smart person might say, well, then just run it for the deadlift, the squat and the bench press in parallel. Fair enough. The thing, what that would do is not taking care of fatigue properly. So if you want to learn more about fatigue and about cyclic programming, I definitely recommend looking at the videos of Chad Wesley Smith from Juggernaut Training Systems. He'll explain in more detail why you should not train like on Smolov Jr. for a prolonged period of time. However, for breaking through a plateau and just mixing things up for a month, I think it can be a valid option. Another caveat around Smolov Jr. is your 1 repetition maximum. So if your 1 repetition maximum is outdated, you haven't tested it in 2 to 3 years, your 1 repetition max was back in high school, you know, all of these things where it's basically a bit of an overstatement what you could actually do, then I would recommend that you test your 1 repetition maximum a bit closer to the cycle before you run it. Also, don't go all out on that 1 rep max test. You know, be a bit careful, because you really don't want to overreach with these extreme single-minded programs, because the injury risk is fairly high. If you go with an overstated 1 rep max, you haven't done the movement in a lot of time, and you know, all of that combined just makes the injury risk higher. That doesn't mean that you immediately break your arms or, you know, get a tennis elbow once you touch the barbell, but it is more likely that it will happen than on other programs. Last thing to mention about Smolov Jr. is that you will inflate your numbers on the lift that you're doing. So what do I mean by that? Most people won't be able to sustain bench pressing 4 times a week or squatting 4 times a week at a very high intensity level. So you are inflating the number at the end of the cycle. What I personally recommend doing, and which worked for me with less injury risk, is rather than focusing on the main lift itself when it's plateauing, look at your weak spots and work on them. So for example, you have a weak spot on going from the chest to the top for the bench press? Well, then cycle in a lot of accessory work around the spotal press worked for me. Or you have a relatively small tricep compared to your chest. Well, skull crushers, tricep kickbacks are the way to go. If the tricep is very big compared to chest, then maybe mix in a few more wide bench presses. So you see, you get the idea of it. Basically, look at your body, look at the movement patterns, find the weak spot, and then get accessory work in to address it, because that will create a more complete lifter that is less prone to injuries, and you win this game in the long run, especially if it's for max strength. Not by artificially inflating your numbers by just doing one lift for months on end. Of course, unless the bench press record or the squat world record is the ultimate goal. Well then, be as specific in your training as possible. Try to get away with banging on squats as long as you can without getting an injury. But believe me, long term also, if you don't find a balanced way of training where your body functions as a unit, you'll probably also get some injuries and some aches and pains by just squatting all the time. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and tell your friends about my channel. Have a very nice day, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.